Okay, cool. So it is working. All right. So welcome to the Woman's Nest. Today's show is we're going to talk a little bit about grief and recovery. Rochelle is a master of both. Well,
master of nothing.
It's a lived experience. It's a lived experience. So when I started this pet project, because that's exactly what it is. It's a little pet project. It's a fun thing for me. At least I think it's fun. And when I found women, hi sir, when I started thinking of women who like have something to share, I felt that you had something to share with people who may not be in our direct connections, right? So like for me, the whole point of this was I have a good solid tribe, right? You have a good solid tribe of people around you, right? You can rely on other people. Like when you're when you're down and out, when you're in your feels, when you are struggling one day, you can reach out to someone. And I realized that not everyone has that opportunity that we have. So we got to or I asked, and you happily obliged. And I've asked other women, and they said, "Ooh, do a video." So it's now I like to call them recorded conversations because that's all it is, right? It's just it's a conversation that we've had in the past that now we get to memorialize for someone else who may be going through what you've gone through. So tell our like audience of 10, because that's about how many people watch this stuff, what you want them to know about you.
Okay. So again, my name is Rochelle, and I am a recovered alcoholic. I have been sober since August 19th, 2015. And, it's been a good life since that point. I had to hit, all those like jackpots that people hit when they're going through their substance use. And when I finally did, it was like this, I don't know, I'm going to call it an epiphany, but it was almost as if like I had the ability suddenly to see things differently. And that motivated me to seek more. And I had always been told I tried to get sober for about 5 years before I got sober. And, along the way, everyone said to me, join a group, get a sponsor, do the steps, pray, and do all those things. And I did what a lot of people do, and I piecemealed it, and I tried to take the softer, easier way, and only to find out that, half measures avail us nothing. And that's exactly what happened. I would start to feel a little bit better, and then I, would get the efforts, and I would pick back up. Prior to getting sober, the longest I had was 91 days. And it was almost like I celebrated the fact that, I had got 90 days.
So you went out and drank?
And I had this, green coin in my hand that I was never able to get before. And and then I didn't know what it was going to look like after, right? Because all I did at that point was clear up.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not enough. It's not enough to sustain anything. Right. There has to be some sort of relief. And there was no relief emotionally. There was just a relief physically.
Yep.
But this is a threefold disease, right?
Yep.
And, when I physically start to clear up and my brain starts to clear up, like I'm still left with that emotional baggage that I'm carrying. And I carried all of mine in my chest.
Which is you. Right? That's the baggage.
Right. Yep. And it came out as this horrible anxiety. I had panic attacks frequently. I have a long history of benzodiazepines, and, that was no longer an answer for me because it was alcohol in a pill. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what to do. And so after I drank that time, someone had given me some pills, and I just started right back where I was. Right. And it was, 0 to 100. But when this last time, hopefully last time, came, something changed, and I sought long-term recovery, rehabilitation, whatever you want to call it. I needed structure. I needed support. I needed someone to help me go back to the basics of life, get up, make your bed, do
those
all
simple
those things. Yeah.
That where our brain has, like you talked about anxiety, right? Or whatever the brain problem is, those simple things, right? Like you were putting your shoes on in the morning, but you didn't know why you were putting your shoes on in the morning. It was just this go. So you
I couldn't find my shoes most of the time. And that's the truth.
Yep.
And that, it made a lot of sense to me. Right. And I'm a rule follower, and I've always been a black and white person. And, I will tell you that in sobriety, I've become gray.
Yep.
And that was a struggle because it was me letting go of my control factor. And, that's one of the things in the program, right? Like you have no control over anything but your reactions and your attitude and things like that. And I really had to turn that over. And I try to do that as much as I possibly can today. I have a sponsor. I can't say I've always had a sponsor. There was a minute I sponsored myself. I don't recommend it. But I have a sponsor that I call, good, bad, or indifferent. Yep. Right. And she's available today, which shows me that my sponsees, I need to be available for them. And this is what it's about. Right. And it gave me a purpose. I didn't have a purpose for a long time. And that's one of the things that sobriety has given me, a purpose. Right.
Yeah.
And what is my primary purpose?
To stay sober
and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Yep. Right. And so, that's kind of how it went. And my whole perspective on life when I got sober changed. And that allowed me to kind of let down some of the barriers that were keeping people out. Right.
That wall.
Yeah.
The onion that I sent the other day, right? That one hit me real hard, right? Because, I didn't realize that was an alcoholic tendency when I was 14, 16, 18, 20 something, right? I was proud of that wall, proud of those onion layers. And now you're talking about, right? Those onion layers, that wall that you built brick by brick, you must take down brick by brick, layer by layer.
Right. And so in order to do that, I need to walk through fear. Right. And so, yeah. And when I did, when I gave it a shot, right? A true shot. I surrendered to the idea that I was going to forever feel isolated and different unless I let people in. And when I did, I made these amazing early sobriety, amazing connections. And then, I was a year sober, my 1 year anniversary, right? And I was just getting my medallion, and my sponsor at the time, wasn't able to go that night and give me my medallion. And not gonna lie, I had a resentment. And but
you're human.
We've since cleared it up, and I've made an amends. And I did what I needed to do to heal that relationship, right? Because that's part of this, is I need to heal these relationships. What I learned outside of the fact that it wasn't all about me was that there were people in my circle that no matter what they had going on in their lives, they were going to put themselves out there to be useful to others. And that showed me so much, right? When my friend just came and she agreed to give me my medallion that night, not knowing what was going on in her life, that was such an eye opener for me. And it made me grow and want to be just like that.
That, right.
And she was about 5 years sober at the time. And, and that was the night that I met my husband, right? Well, I had met him before, but I had never talked to him. So,
because he was a nice looking guy, and you said, but I got to wait a year, so I'm not going to get my feelings hurt, right?
Well, I was a year and I was broken.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I knew my picker was broken. Totally. Right. And so I listened to this guy.
Your picker.
Yeah.
Oh,
did you say pecker?
I did.
Love it.
It's the women's nest.
Right.
We can talk.
So he
hey,
shared.
Sit.
This is the only man in my life now, and he's an a-hole.
See him?
Hey, Tank, get the down.
Sorry, this is the women's nest, and put the rocket away.
Oh,
sit down.
All right, come on. Hold on 1 second, please. Let's go. Come on.
So the only man in your life is this one now.
Yeah,
But
but I can't control him. And the only thing I control is how I do this. But yeah, so I met my husband and I was open to it. And he wasn't my husband, obviously, that day, but I was open to it, right? And like, it was the most easy, softest, like introduction to a relationship that I had ever experienced, because I had really taken a look at, myself.
Yep.
Which is really what this is all about.
Yep.
Right. And, I worked on some defects, and which were my fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a runner by nature. That's what I do. I run from problems. And I know that that's not an answer today. I've really had to pause, pray, proceed. And it works. If you don't think it's going to work and you're a runner like me, like I promise you, the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And, you realize that running from a problem doesn't remove a problem. It removes you. And like, you're the only one who can face the problem, head on, because it's your problem. And like, when you run from it, there's nobody to fix it. And so, doing that just didn't work. Right. But I went through sobriety, and
Lay down.
After that, I ended up moving in with him and said, this is either really going to work, because I'd been in sober living for 17 months. And I said, this is either going to work or it's going to blow up in our face.
Yep.
And 3 years later, we got married. In that time, like, I've done a ton of work on myself. And like, I was really, I'm going to say, how do I say this? I struggled with prayer and meditation in my first few years, right? Not prayer. I could pray, but I struggled with waiting for the answer, because my impatience, it would get the best of me, right? And that uncertainty is such an uncomfortable place to be in that, it was a struggle for me. So I chased retreats on prayer and meditation. And I learned that, as simply put as possible, like, praying is asking God for help and guidance, and meditation is waiting for the answer.
So
right?
can I interrupt for 1 second on that? And we can get into the story if you want about the retreat. But it's a couple of words that you said that could turn some people off, because it turned me off, right? You said the word God, and you said the words prayer. Those things are like, remember Pee-wee's Playhouse, the word of the day? Ah! That's how my brain still sometimes works. So those two words that you said, prayer, but the way you say it, and I've used how you said it, right? Asking for the answers, and then meditating is getting the answers, right? And the word God, for a long time, I used group of drunks, right? Good orderly direction, right? So that's what's in my heart, right? Faith, finding answers in the heart. All of these little acronyms, right? So when you say these things, I don't want someone like myself to instantly say, oh, she said the God word, I'm done, right? Because for me, it still can be a turnoff, right? I hear the word and I'm like, that's not the conversation for me. But you have much more to talk about other than just, right? It's a huge part of where you are today, but it's not the ultimate authority of your life.
Right.
It's a part of your story, right? Yeah. So I just wanted to interject that, and I hope you don't mind.
So I'm still going to say that, like, okay, with the whole God thing for
Sit
me,
down.
I grew up Catholic, and when I came into recovery, I hated God, the God that I knew growing up, because I believed he was a punishing God, and that my life was all jammed up because God didn't love me, and that I wasn't worthy, and it was just part of my insecurities and fears, right? And I still get uncomfortable when people say Lord or Jesus, because when I think of God today, I literally look up at the clouds and I have no idea what it looks like. He looks like, she looks like, whatever it is. But I know that they're behind those clouds. And like, that doesn't happen by accident. And so when I go outside at night, it's the stars. During the day, it's the clouds. And like,
and even the rain.
Right. It's something is guiding me. Something is bigger than me. And, it has no picture. Like
Mhm.
I can't picture anything other than one of those, like, what do you call those, cumulus clouds, the big
Yeah,
fluffy
yeah,
ones.
yeah, yeah.
And like, but that's what it is. And that's all I need.
Yep.
That's all I need
Yep.
to know I'm not alone.
Yep.
And whatever it looks like for other people, my first sponsor believed in a goddess, right?
Mm.
And like, I was like, oh, cool. That means that mine doesn't have to look like what I
Right.
was raised with.
Correct.
And that made sense to me, and so when I say God, I use that word as a just an easier word than saying my higher power every time,
Right.
or something bigger than me, and I use it with love, right?
Mm.
Because I know today that every single person on this earth and animal is God's children, made just the way they are, because it believed that the world needed that.
Yep.
And like, what an amazing thing to never feel alone like that.
Mm.
So when people say they're lonely, like, I don't get that anymore.
Mm.
There's no more lonely. Yeah, I still tend to isolate from other humans.
Well, that's another whole story.
Right.
Maybe we'll do another show
right.
on the future of.
But
Yeah.
in that regard, and like, when things happen, right, I have to trust that, because this is what I've learned through these last 10 years or so, is that I have to trust that I'm going to be okay.
Mm. But who helped you with that? Can I say his name? Okay. You can say that Ronnie was a guiding force of you getting there, right? Nothing happens by accident, right? So your pecker picker was fixed.
Point.
It was fixed, and you found Ronnie.
Right.
Ronnie was guided to you. And so you lived together for a few years, and either this is going to be a make or break, right? So you went from a house full of like 16 to 20 women to now a very vibrant man.
I'm not that good of a people person.
And he is.
Yeah, he's an extrovert.
Yeah.
He's there when he's there. Like me, I'm like, I'm going to.
No, I'm very Ronnie like. Hello, world.
Yeah.
I'm here, and let's entertain people. Right. Because
I can entertain. I'm funny, but like, I'm funny in a little
in
circle.
small doses.
Yeah.
But entertain, I mean, like, let's have people over. Let's go to this, and that's not you.
No.
So
no. Right, and he, I will say this, and this is, the one last thing about God. So one of the hardest things for me in that regard was, at this point in my recovery, I believed there was something bigger than me.
Yep.
But I didn't. A lot of people look for tangible evidence, right? And I had no tangible evidence at this point in my life. Nothing that I was either willing to look at or see, or significant enough that it hit me like a bag of bricks. And then something happened. So
something else.
Ronnie had lost his job for this company. He was sober. But he lost his job because new people bought it, and they brought in their own people, and he was a higher up, and they replaced him. Right. So he's lost his job. This was, I don't know, maybe 6 months into us, maybe right before, I don't remember. It was a long time ago, but anyway, he had lost his job, had to buy a truck because he had a company vehicle.
Right.
And now he went from making all this money to making just enough to kind of pay the bills, and like driving to East Providence and like all this crazy stuff. And so anyway, what happened significantly was that the water heater died one day. And so he called this guy, Derek, and he said, hey, can you come over and take a look at this? And so Derek came over and looked at it. He said, yes, thing's dead. Do you need a new one? And so the price of it was either he could pay the mortgage that month, or he could fix. I offered money. He didn't want anything to do with me.
Money-wise.
Right. He was like, nope, I'm good. And he said something to me that would forever change my life. He said, Rochelle, God's never let me fall, and he's not going to now. And I was like, I'm a skeptic, right?
Yeah.
I got no proof that that's the real truth.
How can you be so confident in something?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And like at this point, I think he has 11 or 12 years sober. So he's been doing it a minute, right?
Yep.
And like learned how to pray through the big book.
Yep.
And, you know, I was like, all right, whatever you say, if you need money, let me know. And like, cause that's who I am, right?
Yep.
I'm a skeptic. I just want to fix things.
Yep.
And you know, this happens. So when he had bought this truck, right? It's this green, awful Yukon thing. I don't know, whatever. He bought it. He didn't like the rims. They were chrome and they were fancy, like, you know, like ghetto fancy.
Not Ronnie fancy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Ronnie is a very like, you know, I'm going to wear flip flops and jeans and a t-shirt.
Yep.
And I'm happy.
Yep.
And so he had put them on Marketplace to sell them. Nobody was biting. He's getting all these people like, you know, like what
Half
I want to
price.
call like window shopping
Yes.
and not paying the price, whatever. So one day out of nowhere, not too long after this conversation happens, someone from like the North Shore reached out to him and was like, hey, I want to buy the rims. And Ryan's like, yep, okay. And he's like, I'll pay for them. Yeah, that's the price. No problem. I'll drive down there tomorrow and get them. And like the dude showed up and like it was exactly the amount he needed
For the water heater.
for the water heater. And he said to me, and I told you, God's never let me fall and he's not going to now. And it was like, and I share this all the time, like
Yep.
that day was like the Grinch, like my faith, not my heart, because my heart was pretty big at that point,
Yeah.
but like my faith,
Grew.
true faith grew that day. And that was exactly what I needed. And I have goosebumpies right now. And
Likewise. And I've heard this story a good dozen times. Yeah.
right. And like, it was exactly what I needed to give this skeptic tangible evidence, right?
Yeah.
And that's just how it went with him. Like, you know, for the next 8 years, right? 7 years, that's how it went. Anything we did was touched by like something bigger,
Mhm.
right? And so in 2000 and oh my God, what year was it? 24. Wow. In 2024, we had a great summer. He loved concerts. We went to a bunch of concerts. So like before we left, we had like, before he left for a motorcycle trip, we had 4 concerts in like that summer, or 5. I don't know. It was a lot. And then he's like, all right, I'm going on this motorcycle trip. Well, he goes on this motorcycle trip, right? And I'm still self-centered sometimes. And I'm like, but on my anniversaries while you're away.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'll be back. Don't worry. And I was like, okay. So I write him this Post-it and I said, please be safe. I love you. And I stick it on the motorcycle that night because I was going to a concert the night he was leaving. He was leaving the morning after, but I knew he was going to be asleep by the time I get home because I was going with a bunch of girls to go see New Kids on the Block. And, you know, because Marky Mark is just still hot, right? And so
that's not New Kids, dummy. Donnie Wahlberg is from New Kids. Marky Mark is his own funky bunch.
That's right.
You suck as a millennial. Is that what we are, millennials? I don't know.
Yeah. Old.
Okay. Anyway,
we're old.
Does this guy need to go OUT? And we
you
can
go pee-pee?
We can pause. I can actually stop this one.
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay. All right.
So I leave this note the next morning when I wake up. He's already gone, and he wrote on the note, "Love you more," and still in my fridge. And he was off. Right. And it wasn't a great trip as far as like his living accommodations and stuff like that. Like, who puts a 300-pound man on the top bunk? Ridiculous. And he's like, I might come home early and all that, but I'd already put my medallion off a week or whatever. And, you know, because it's all about me still. Right. And I was like, it's fine. It's fine. And then I went to work. August 18th was a Sunday. It's the day before my anniversary. And I went to work, and the person that I was working with was a newer support staff member. And she comes into my office and she says, the police are here for you. Now, I haven't gotten arrested in many, many years. And I'm like,
sobriety's well for you then.
Right. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, okay. Like at first I was like, what's going on? Like, and I thought it was for someone else, like about something else. Like the police wanted to talk to us because there was a client in the house, and I don't know. So I go outside, and the guy tells me that my husband has been in an accident. And and I'm like, okay, is he in the hospital? What's going on? And it was these two police officers, a male and a female, and they were wonderful. And the guy takes a call, the cop, and they said that he passed away.
Mhm.
And I don't remember very much from those moments. I remember screaming. I remember falling.
Mm.
And I remember when I got back up, I just kept moving physically, and I didn't want anyone to come near me or talk to me or do anything. Like I couldn't process it. And it didn't make any sense to me, and I didn't know what to do with it. And so that support staff member, April is her name, she called my friend Lisa, and my friend Lisa called everybody. And everyone that I work with, all 17 employees, showed up at my work within 15. I don't know. It was quick. It was quick. Like nobody lives far enough away that it's going to be an hour and 2 hours. You know what I mean? It was quick. And I don't remember a whole lot of this. I just remember that primal scream and just feeling like my whole body just got ripped apart. Like that was the only way I could describe it, was that like I was just torn into pieces, and emotionally, obviously, but physically it wasn't true. But I didn't know how to react. I don't know that anybody knows how to react to that. And yeah, it was surreal. And I kept thinking in my head, it couldn't be true. It couldn't be true. It couldn't be true. Like he was the most careful motorcycle rider. I mean, yeah, he went fast.
Yep.
But you know, I guess at the time, he was going 30, and you know, what they said was his peers that he went with was that all of a sudden the motorcycle just slumped over and it hit another car. Nobody got hurt, thank God, but like it hit this other car, like, you know, and that he had just slumped over and that he never came back. And you know, in all the years that I'd been sober at that point, and I'd lost other people. I lost my mom, and drinking and, you know, taking something had never been an option, and it still wasn't an option, which is weird to me because it was always the option. And that's the miracle, right? And
Yes.
but I just, you don't, here's what I'll tell you about grief. You don't know how much it alters yourself or that person, right? Whoever it happens to be me in this case. Because the life that you knew is now gone, right? Like immediately, like without hesitation, it's gone. Like there's no more
Tomorrows. There's no more.
no more anything.
Yep.
You know, we went from being Rochelle and Ronnie to it just being Rochelle, and like we had been together since, you know, I was a year sober, and at this point I was going to be 9 years. So for 8 years I was part of Ronnie. And like
it was a sober Bonnie and Clyde. Right.
Yeah. Right. And like, you know, when I first got sober, they said you need to change everything.
Yeah.
Right. And then this happened. And like, it's the same thing.
You've got to change everything.
You've got to change everything. Right. And like you're carrying this, you know, the thing I love about what people talk about grief is that grief is that emotion that is because of all the love. And now you don't have anywhere to put it because that person is no longer there. And so you've got to find a redirection
of that love.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not saying it goes into, you know,
another relationship or what, right.
Because that's
not it.
Yeah. It's still not an option for me at this point. I've been talking about this recently,
but
like, I'm just not there. you know.
And nobody says, oh, after a year you should start dating, right?
It's not like sobriety, you know what I mean? Like, you don't wait a year after grief and now all of a sudden you're good, you know, your picker's fine. And like, you know, it's not like that.
I'm totally going to use pecker picker from now on.
Right?
Yeah.
But I had to redirect. And so in this process of redirecting, I didn't know where to put that love. And so I did the one thing that I thought made the most sense, and I put it into myself.
Mm-hmm.
And through this, you know, it's every day. There isn't a day that goes by that I get a sinking feeling at least once a day, minimum.
Okay.
Right. And that's that loss, that void, that black hole of
that gut,
his presence no longer being
physical
part of my life. Right. But I now know that, you know, when something funny happens or when something, you know, I always used to say God's got jokes, and I'm like, fucking Ronnie's got jokes.
Yeah.
Dude. You know, and I'm like, did you talk to my father about that out there? Like, you know, and it's one of those things, like, I know that I will forever have him with me.
Yep.
And like that part of it is so amazing. And what I needed to do, especially in that first year, what I really needed to do was find gratitude again.
I was just going to ask you, when did you get to the point of, you just said it and it slid through my mind, that almost like that peace that you, like, sadness happens, right? And you still have that void. How did you get to maybe people who don't have the recovery side, they only have the grief side, or they only have the recovery side, they haven't experienced grief, right? Like, I have not experienced that in my sobriety yet. Mm-hmm. But I look at people like you, right? And I hear these messages to put in my toolbox for when, because it's going to happen, right?
It always does.
It always does. There's two things that are guaranteed, right? Death and taxes. Where did you find that I will be okay? When? And again, your timeline is very different from someone else's. So like, when did you finally say, is it that time where you finally said, you know, Ronnie said, I'm tired, Ro. Right? Was that it? Or was it like, and again, if there's stuff that you're like, nope, we're not going to talk about that, I can cut it out. We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, that was one of the last things he said to me, right? Is I'm just tired, Ro. My husband worked 1 million hours a week. He killed himself to do it. He didn't get paid vacation, so he would work a ton of hours, bank the money,
extra money,
and use that, right? Like he was getting paid again, even though he wasn't. And he had like a few sick days or something like that with the union. That was a big thing for me. Like that, I felt that I feel we all have a purpose on this earth, right?
Yep. And
sometimes it takes longer to find it. I was 44, 45 years old when, I found that I had one, because I didn't think I did before that. I was just kind of floating through life.
Existing.
Yeah. And not living, right? And I guess, there was after everyone goes away, because they do, right?
Facts.
They do, right?
Yep.
It quiets down. And at first I couldn't be alone because I couldn't be alone with my own thoughts. And then I needed the quiet.
Okay.
Because everything became too loud. And that was hard. It was like everything I heard, because one thing I'll tell you about grief is to say, you never want to hear things like, it'll get better with time. No, that's not true. It gets
different.
easier.
Gets different.
Only thing that changes is the way you look at it. That's it. Like nothing else. And so for me, much like my recovery, I needed to alter the way I saw my world, much like my recovery. And so for me, the recovery piece really helped.
Yep.
I'm not saying I'm healed. It's by far not the truth. It's like this million miles away, but I am able to see it as,
no, totally not.
I'm able to see it without catastrophizing.
Okay.
And I know I'm never alone. And I know he was tired, and I know, he was 20 years sober, and he helped He
So many.
helped so many people, and he's still helping
Yeah.
people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
There's things that we will not discuss on camera that yes,
yeah,
in his death, he is still helping
right.
people.
And like, so he used to say this thing to me. I'm sure he said it to more people than just me, but I can only attest that he said it to me.
Right. There is a fact that he has at least said it to me.
That, you know, he used to say that anything that takes too much time in your brain is mental masturbation.
Yes.
And so I was at work the other day.
Okay.
And it was funny because sometimes when I talk about him, I call him Ronnie.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I talk about him, I call him my husband. Right?
Yep.
Oh, that was one of the things. And I just want to mention this, that like I went from being married to not married in a split second.
Unexpected. Right. Not. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And like I had waited 48 years
To find Mr. Right.
and like, you know, 3, 4, it was 4
Tank.
years later.
Sit down, Tank. Go lay down.
4 years later,
Go lay down. Go.
I'm after making this till death do us part commitment.
Right. Those words.
Death did us part.
Yep.
And like that was really hard. I'm gonna have to give you food.
Oh, now he's pawing at my back. Like, bitch, you just turned your back on
He
me.
totally just wants attention.
Yes.
He is like a teenage girl. Some of us need therapy.
Tank might be one of them.
Mm-hmm. Sit.
Sir.
Thank you. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know when it happened. I know this. I was able to find gratitude because I didn't know a way out of it. Because here's what I'm going to tell you. For me, I had all these years of not pure peace, not pure, absolutely not, but mostly peace. Like I used to say, I'm not happy every day, all day, but I'm happy every day.
Right. You had flickers of peace throughout your day and not necessarily the entire day, right? If you
Right.
got an entire day, then
There were days.
Yeah.
There were days, you know what I mean? That I
that's
was
on the
just like,
spirit. You were on the spiritual beam. You were on the spiritual beam.
Right.
Like it was 2 feet wide. You weren't falling off of it. But most days we're walking a beam that's, just a few inches. Right. Okay.
And you know, it's I don't know. When that happened, I guess so it's like I had all these unmanageable feelings, right? Because they were unmanageable. So now my life's completely unmanageable again.
Without a drink.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only thing I know how to do is turn it over.
Okay.
And I had to give it
All. No reservations.
Nope. And at some point that clicked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And since then, like I can talk about him, I can watch videos without crying because like not everybody, I really believe this, not everybody has that person in their life like that. And if I never find something like that again, it's okay.
Because you experienced it.
Because I had it.
You're a 1% of the population that gets that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, how amazing is that?
Yeah.
And like the way he, they say people come into your life for a reason, a season, a blah,
Or
blah,
a
blah.
lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I always try to just say like, his purpose in my life was fulfilled.
Yeah.
He taught me more than, you know what I mean?
In
Almost
that
anybody.
decade. Then,
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, I know that everything happened for a reason. So about a year and a half before, I know I got a big story. And like, so I went back to school.
yeah, right. My name's Rochelle. I was born in 19.
Right? You
Yep.
would think I was 170. But I had gone back to school, with COVID happened, like craziness. And Ronnie said, go back to school, do what you got to do. I was working in the restaurants. Restaurants weren't opening. So
Yeah.
I went to school. And then once I did that and I got a license, my work said, go get a bachelor's. And so then I went and I got a bachelor's, and he was like my biggest cheerleader. And then work said to me, oh my God, we think you should get your master's. And I was like, I'm 50.
Right.
He was like, go get him, Tiger. Right. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And like, I did it.
Because my cheerleader said so.
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't because you said so.
No,
Your
because I
cheerleader.
still didn't believe that I had that in me. Right.
Yep.
And like, but I did. Right.
Yeah.
But the changes that I made in my life, so I got a new sponsor a year and a half before Ronnie passed. And I remember because we were leaving on vacation and I asked her at this women's meeting, and I'll never forget, I felt like a kid asking someone on a date again, right? It's such an odd thing.
Yes.
And I said to her, would you consider sponsoring me? She said, I would not only consider it, I would find it a privilege. And I said, oh my God, I love you. And I hugged her.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's my personality.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so grateful that someone says yes to me that I'm like immediately going in for the uncomfortable hug.
Yep.
And I go, but I'm leaving for St. Lucia.
So we'll be in touch in 2 weeks. And that's
I sent her one picture while I was away. So she knew I was alive.
That was a great start to that relationship because I know who your sponsor is. That must have been great. She's like, yeah.
But she knew.
Yeah.
She knew.
Yeah.
And she gave me grapevines. And so I brought the grapevines with me because I was going to an all-inclusive resort, and they have alcohol there. Lots of it.
Lots of it for free.
Right. And we'd done it before. You know what I mean? Like at this point, like I was in a state of neutrality with alcohol. And like it didn't matter to me. I wasn't going there for that. I was going there for the beach and I was going there for the coconuts and I was going there to buy wooden trinkets and ride horses and
I was there to be a tourist, not a drunk tourist.
Right. You know what I mean? I want to remember my vacations today. And and it was one of those things. But like if I hadn't gone to that meeting at that time, and if I go back to that day that my life forever changed, I will tell you that because I had gotten so used to reaching out to this sponsor, right, which I was never good at before. I never called, I text.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to lie about my feelings.
Right. Someone had, one of my coworkers had said to me, I'm going to drive you to your house. I'm going to take your car and I'll get a ride back. And so I said, okay.
Yeah. You remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
And then I got in the car and I said, I need to make a call. I'd never sit in the passenger seat in my car before. And like, I need to make a call. She's like, it's your car. And I was like, oh yeah. And I called my sponsor. And what she said to me was, what's your address? And that was it.
Yep.
And like, there she was. And, but if everything else hadn't happened the way that it happened, I don't think that, like, I was so lucky. I'd changed groups. I had done all this stuff. So I've got a huge group of people like supporting me that knew Ronnie, love Ronnie. Some of them didn't even know Ronnie. You know what I mean? But they knew me. Right. And like everybody just circled around me. It's like, that lone wolf or whatever they get, sheep. It's a sheep. Yep. I think the story goes that gets picked off. Like there was not a shot in hell that I was getting picked off.
You were in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Right.
And they like put their arms around me and they were like, we got you. And that carried me through for months, and I couldn't have done it without that. I really couldn't have. And it's part of, I think, why, like, I was like, if I didn't have this, you know what I mean? I don't think I would have thought about drinking because I know what happens if I drink. I'm able to play that tape, but like, I also knew it wasn't going to make it feel better. So
recovery was a blessing.
Oh my God.
Because you wouldn't have had those people.
Everything.
Right.
It's everything.
You wouldn't have had those people put you in the middle of the herd to make sure you don't get picked off if you didn't have recovery. And sobriety and recovery, in the beginning, I didn't realize there was a difference. Huge difference, right? You can be sober and miserable.
Oh, I know plenty.
I have 21 years of a different sobriety, and 17 of those 20 something years was miserable.
Yeah.
So, right. And I chose to drink when shit got bad. You didn't have that opportunity because you had changed you made sure your recovery was, and that's it, right? You didn't know prior to that August that you were going to need them then. But we talked about those, jokes for days, right? I saw you come into the group that you're a part of now.
I think you signed me up.
Yeah,
You
because
were the secretary
I was
at the time.
But and I did that with a little bit of who does this bitch think she is? Because
Right.
someone was like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever." I'm like, I don't know her, right? But who would have thought a year and a half later, right? Because I was told when something happens to a group member, it happens to you, right? I don't have to feel those feels, right? Someone's animal passes away. I don't have to feel that, but I can make sure that that group member does not feel like they're alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've experienced that, right? So like to you, that's a big part of your recovery is that fellowship alongside the
Mhm.
recovery, the unity, the service, right?
Right.
The fellowship.
Yep.
It's a big part.
Right.
And fellowship looks very different. You just talked about it. Your husband's version of fellowship versus your version of fellowship are two very different things.
Right. I'm like, 2 people, I'm good.
Yeah.
Anything more than 2 people is a crowd.
right. And my dog's probably going to be in there too. Right.
Right. And just, I don't know. It's.
Sir, you something faith. No.
It's
Talk to the hand.
Yeah, he is. This dog is absolutely a nightmare right now. He wants attention.
He really does.
He's
He's
bad.
like, first of all, you two are talking to kind of each other, but a screen, and I need to know what the hell's going on.
Right. Sit down.
So, what do you have over there? What is this?
So, this is a book that my friend Jess gave me, and it's kind of like, for those in recovery, we read a Just for Today book a lot, and it'll give us like something to think about that is part of, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? It'll pull out like a blurb of it, and then it'll give you a real life example in your day, right? And then something to pray about that day. So this book, here I am promoting it.
Absolutely.
Healing After Loss. My friend Jess gave to me when my mom passed, actually, in 2018.
Wow.
I didn't know I was going to need it to be like my Bible in the beginning. And I'm not a religious person, like I said, but I was really, really needed something to identify with at that time. And like talking to other people who were sharing my grief with the same person was not helpful. Because
say that again.
So one of the things that I really realized is that if you're grieving Ronnie and I'm grieving Ronnie,
okay,
I can't help you make you feel better.
That's what I thought.
And you can't help me. I need someone outside of that.
Yep.
That can listen without, I guess,
their feelings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because my grief is going to cloud your grief, or vice versa.
Yep.
And so
that's why you can't sponsor your spouse either.
Right.
Because what are your motives, right?
Yeah.
So your motives on healing through this tragedy could be very different than the people who also are grieving that tragedy.
Right.
Because they need to get over this hurdle and your hurdle's over here.
Right.
Okay.
And it's different grief, right? And that's the other thing I found. So I tried grief counseling.
Tell us.
Group grief counseling.
Tell us.
And here's what I'm going to tell you. It's not like Alcoholics Anonymous. You do not identify with everything everyone's saying. It don't work that way. And
you're like, Susie, shut up.
Yeah. I when you lose someone suddenly and there's not a sickness or preparation, it's very different. That's a different type of grief. And so what I found was when I did these grief, so I did a group called Loss of a Spouse. So everyone had lost a spouse. So we had that in common. But like one person had lost their spouse because they killed themselves. That's so different. That's so different because that's like a betrayal, right? And
you didn't talk to me about this.
A loss. Yeah. And like, and most of them had lost their significant other to an illness, right? Illness was a big part of it. And so I couldn't identify with those people. And so I didn't find it helpful in that regard. and it came with a book, and the book really it didn't break it up either. It
Into
treated
different-
grief as a whole, not grief as an individual, unique
Circumstance,
experience. Right. And so it didn't work for me.
Okay. You
and
tried it.
I did.
You experienced it.
I did.
You took advice of others.
I tried, yeah, like it, and they're like, yeah, it'll help you talking to other widows and all that, and yeah, it did, and
Okay.
and so I did individualized therapy, and what I needed to work through mostly was working. How do I say this? Not judging. Hold on, not judging others' grief.
Ooh. Well, very similar to how you said it originally, right? When you talked about at the house, right? You don't remember. And while 90% of the people would have reacted the same, there's a certain percent that would have been like, okay. And just sat, right? Not that primal scream and all of these things. Very similar, right?
Yeah.
You can't judge how someone may be outwardly okay and they're literally have a black soul on the inside.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to relate that to the recovery side of things, right? How someone else does it. We have a program that outlines how we should do things.
Right.
But it doesn't specifically
But it's not perfect.
Right. And it also doesn't specifically say get on your knees, right? But that's how some people
Right.
interpret it.
But that's that's a personal
Personal choice.
Right.
Preference.
Yeah.
Okay. So you stopped comparing others' grief to your grief.
I had to. And because like when you lose, I can't empathize with this. I can sympathize. When you lose a child, I can't identify.
Yep.
When you lose a sibling, I can't identify. And it's all very different because this person that you've all lost, which is the only connection you have, is the same person, played different parts in your life.
Yes.
And that was, he was my all day, every day.
Yep.
Right. But he had been a child for 50 years to his mother.
Yeah.
But he hadn't been in her life all day, every day
For the past
30 years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so my loss was at the time just different. It's not better or worse or easier or harder. It's just different. It's very, just like if I come into Alcoholics Anonymous and I'm a heroin addict, my recovery physically is going to be different than an alcoholic's.
Yep.
It doesn't make us different people or different. We're still both addicts.
Yeah.
Right. But I need to overcome certain things like track marks or the habit of using that. It's like quitting smoking.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's you this hand to mouth part of smoking is the hardest part for people.
And there's also no commercials for heroin addicts on TV, but there's a shit ton of alcohol commercials on TV.
Right.
So yeah,
the triggers are different.
Yep.
And that's the other thing about grief is like you can be triggered, right? Like, okay, so something happened not too long ago and like it hit me like woof, like a punch in the stomach. And I was like, and all it was somebody saying I don't remember exactly, but somebody made mention of something that brought me to Ronnie because it was very Ronnie-ish.
Okay.
And like it was like a punch in the stomach real quick.
Ooh.
And you don't know what's going to trigger that. Like you don't have any idea of, because I can watch a video of him pretending he's looking for his baseball and like
right,
and with my baseball, like being a total lunatic or stripping for the camera. I'm her cowboy, like, and I can watch that and not be sad.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can look at a Harley Davidson and like
all of a sudden lose it.
Picture him on it, even though it's not him,
mm-hmm.
and like lose my shit.
Right.
You know, you don't know what's going
Right.
and there's no, like they say there are stages and things like that. Like just take each one of them, throw them all in a ball, and you never know what you're going to fucking get. You don't know which way it's going to go. It does this, you know what I mean? It is not linear. It is not, you can't like, it's not like, you know, like a program, like you don't go 1 through 12,
Right.
you know, you go denial, procrastination, anger,
Denial again.
Yeah. Like, and it's all those things. Like, even when you know the person's not coming back, there's still denial.
Yeah.
Like I can wake up one day and forget, like just for a split second usually, but like just forget that the person next to me now has 4 legs, a tail, and an attitude.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That quick, like when you wake up and you're in a zone and
Right.
like, oh shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you haven't come
Which
to
I will
yet.
tell you a very funny story about me having a dream in my sleep and then Ryan kissing me on the forehead and I thought it was a stranger and I said, please don't do that. And he's mad at me for telling him not to ever kiss him again. Right. But it's that.
Yeah. Because you're not conscious yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your conscious brain is still like
Kind of, oh, where's my coffee?
foggy. Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so those moments happen. They're not frequent, I should say. It's not every day. It's some days it happens.
It happens.
And, yeah.
And there's your nonlinear grief.
Right. And then you got to bring yourself back. Like, okay, like it's just you, kid, you know, and it's amazing. I want to share one thing. And I know like I'm kind of like all over the place. And
That's
up and
okay.
down, and
there's no script.
Right,
This is awesome.
So the Christmas, the Christmas after Ronnie passed away,
I laugh. Yeah.
there's a guy from In the Wind. He's kind of a quiet group member, very, very religious, which I'm like, but everybody has their own thing.
Yep.
And he gave me a book. And in the book, the book is, I forget who wrote it, but it's called There's Purpose in Pain.
I can see okay. There's purpose in pain. Yep.
Right. And I didn't realize, I wasn't able to put that into my own life. I read the book, you know, I found it interesting, but I couldn't make it work in Rochelle land, right? Until it worked in Rochelle land. And so about 6 months after Ronnie passed, another group member lost her significant other in a different way. He was sick. It was quick though. I figured out
Pain and purpose.
why he had given me that book, and it was a preparation tool.
Wow.
And like, I didn't know that. And so, you know, as much as I don't know if I could help her or if anything I said was going to be useful or whatever, I was available when needed, because that's why we have these pains. And I remember his name's Mike. And I remember he said to me, you are going to help a lot of people. And I was like, okay, thank you. And he gave me a little lollipop because he always does. And that was part of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know
that you were needed
I didn't know it was going to be needed so soon, one.
Right.
And I didn't know that I could take that pain, right? Because remember I said I had to find a place for that love. But alongside that love or around that love, or a big part of that love is pain from loss, right? And when I'm able to help someone else, kind of show them that it's survivable,
right,
and that there is life worth living outside of that, then I know that, you know, there's a purpose.
Yes.
And that has gotten me through so many days, you know, to know that I get to, like, so what was it? Not transfer, but like really hone in on, my pain and use it
For a purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So now it's not just sitting there and
In your heart.
being heavy
Heavy.
inside of me.
Yep.
I'm able to give it a reason.
Here's the heaviness. If I give some of my heaviness that I've experienced, not give you my heaviness, but some of the heaviness I've experienced, it lightens my load and maybe it lightens your load, and we give that heavy up to the universe, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're both, in our active addiction, whatever, we had a fellowship. It wasn't a positive one, right? But we shared in a commonality, right? So now on the other side, the recovery, the sobriety side of things, we have a commonality, right? But then when you can find someone else who has an additional commonality and you can share some of that heavy, yucky stuff, right? Because that's what we do when we share our experience, strength, and hope. We're sharing some of that yucky stuff. And then we're also sharing some of that good stuff that we've gotten out of doing good things.
Right.
So it's like, here's the heavy stuff that I'm going to turn over into something good in turning that pain, right? And there's so many levels of that pain, right? There's much like our disease is a threefold.
Yeah.
That pain is also threefold, right? Physical, because physically you got this, I'm not going to say the name.
He wasn't a big help with him anyway.
But no, like,
Right.
But you've got this person now, individual with 4 legs. So the physicality of someone else is now gone, right?
Right.
Right. And he was a big physical presence.
Yeah.
Mentally, you have to get through all of that. And then like the spiritual side is, right? Let go, let God, like let go, let Ronnie, right? And one of the coolest things is, the what would Jesus do, right? And you talked about it previously. Your husband helped so many people in his 20 years of sobriety. And one of the things was, what would Ronnie do? And quite frankly, I never met your husband. I heard of your husband, but I knew you, and through stories and things I heard, what would Ronnie do? What would Ronnie do?
Right.
And how did that statement alone is powerful. And did that statement, and actually I know the answer to this, but maybe you can share this. How did that statement push you?
There were definitely days that I didn't have it in me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have anything in me. Like, it was like, some days it would just be this huge barrier that would not allow me to function normally. When they talk about brain fog, it's totally real. Like, I was in a fog for months. And, I remember him saying to me, we don't say I can't in this family. And, I carry that. Right? And every time I want to quit something, or I think I can't handle something, I say, nope, I don't know how, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get help. Asking for help is huge. I've had to ask for a lot of help, even when I didn't want to. I can't lift everything. I can't hang things by myself sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm only capable of doing what I can do.
Yep.
When I think about Ronnie and like all the things, and the what would Ronnie do thing was not me. That was his brother,
Yep.
Patrick.
Yep.
And, saying like, we need to look at that, right? Because Ronnie would drop everything and anything to help someone in need, right? I remember getting an email from a woman after it all happened. And she said to me, your husband really helped me through this really hard period where I wanted to die. And I had heard about this woman.
I love this story. Yes.
And she was, so my husband was a heavy equipment operator. He ran an elevator and going up, go down, great job. And lots of money, great
I
job.
was going to say, I paid the bills, girl.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I had no complaints. And she was a laborer, and she had gotten sick, and she came up. She was diagnosed with something life altering, and like she confided in him, right? And he was really worried about her. And like, I didn't know who this person was. He never told me her name. He never said anything. He just said she's a laborer. So okay, there's plenty of them women laborers on site where he goes from job to job. But no,
you're not like, I know exactly who you're talking about.
But I didn't. Right. I had no idea until after he passed away, and she reached out to me via Facebook Messenger and told me how much he had helped her. And then I put 2 and 2 together, because like we're Kevin Bacon connected.
Oh, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Like we're Kevin Bacon connected. And like the influence and the way, the positive impact that he had on her, like hearing that from someone who didn't, know that me, right?
Yep.
It wasn't telling me these things because she wanted to try to make me feel better. She was telling me these things because she needed to share her pain and how he helped her through that. And like, that's amazing, right?
Wow.
And like, there's been so many things. There's a guy, he's an EMT. He lives in South Carolina. Yes. And like, he was the one who tried to help him that day. And I was able to have live conversations with him, and he still messaged me on Facebook at this, you know what I mean? And like, he got sober. He was gonna drink
that day.
And like, he got sober. And like, when he got a year, we all knew about it. Like, it's amazing that, he was gone, and he's still helping.
Right.
Like, and that's what we should strive for, right? Is to be just a little bit of that person. Yeah. And that's what Ronnie would do. What would Ronnie do?
He would try just a little bit, just 1% of your being today. Try to help somebody. Right.
My primary purpose
is just,
right.
Yeah.
Like, how can I be useful? And that's what my prayers are daily.
Yeah.
Like, when I can't sleep at night, and it happens, I always say, God, give me enough sleep so that I can be useful tomorrow. Like, that's it. That's all I want. I just want to be able to be useful. I may be a little cranky. Sugar's going to change that a little bit.
Maybe need a little extra cup of coffee.
Right. Red Bull. Get some wings. But like, I'm going to tell you that's all I asked for today.
A perfect example. What would Ronnie do?
Right.
Ronnie would ask for help to be just a little bit more resourceful in giving to others. Right. And I think in the grand scheme of things, and not to say like, right, we're not perfect humans. I've changed the shift in my mind to be more helpful. Doesn't mean I'm not trying to help myself along the way. Right. But a little bit less of me and a little more of a stranger.
Right.
And that can be just as important,
Not flipping someone off in traffic.
I do this now.
I blow kisses.
Okay. So we went on like a 40-minute tangent of not reading that little passage of the healing after loss.
Yes, it happens.
It does, but this is beautiful. Like, I don't know if anyone else will enjoy this, but I love the fact that we have been able to, and this is the point, organic conversations, couple of little subject lines, but like, what do you have for us?
All right. So today happens to be Valentine's Day as well. Ew.
Happy National Make Money for the Corporations
Holiday.
Right,
Hallmark Day.
Yeah.
And like, I've never been a big person for this. It's never been a great day. Like, it's just never been a thing for me. So it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? I do the little niceties and I move on. So today, February 14th, it says, for everything there is a season, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. And that happens to be from the Bible, and it's Ecclesiastic 3:1-4. If there is one thing grievers know, it is how changeable our moods can be. One moment we are relatively calm, in control, keeping our grief at bay. The next moment we are overwhelmed, our equilibrium shattered. Anything can send us off. Like I was saying, like the triggers are this.
The
like
balls.
Nothing, something, doesn't matter. A fragrance, the word of a song, an article in a newspaper that reminds us of our loss, the first sign of spring, or our loved one not here to share it. Even minor holidays like Valentine's Day can send us reeling. Not that that doesn't do it for me, but other times we are carefree, relishing the moment, the beauty of snow, the warmth of fire, the comfort of hot cocoa, the presence of friends. And we wonder why we are so susceptible to such mood swings. We may even wonder about our own sanity. When will my moods be more measured so I am not always in danger of being swept away, of falling through the trapdoor of despair? Our lives have been shattered by loss. Of course, it will take time for the pieces to come together in any coherent pattern. And so the bottom says, I will be patient with myself, honoring the seasons of my grieving, trusting I am on my way to being healed. And like, that's the goal for me, right? Because I don't like that uncomfortable feeling of despair. It brings me back to my days before I got sober. And like, I know that my life doesn't have to be full of despair today, you know? And so I want to try to do something each day to reignite hope in some small way, no matter what it looks like, you know? And it can just be like a, oh my God, look what I did.
But that's it, right? So despair, when we were in our activeness, it was such a common feeling word, all these things that even then we didn't know that's what it was. Now you know what it is. And you know, while it may not be easy, you can climb out of it. Right? I'm going to pull up some lyrics.
Oh boy.
And then we can end on this.
Okay.
And you know which one I'm going for, right?
I do.
Okay. So I'm not going to get through all the lyrics. So this song, I'm going to click here and pull this over here. So this song here, we went on a retreat, which I never thought I would do. And I'm not going to get into it because I want to try to get this done in like 5 minutes. And Rochelle forced is a very not proper word.
I strong-armed.
Yeah, it was one of those things. And it was one of the parts of continuing my personal growth and recovery. I had done like all the heavy lifting.
Remaining teachable.
And I said, it didn't sound as bad when it was approached to me, and you had a very small time frame. And long story short is we went on this retreat, and it was an 11-step retreat. So through prayer and meditation, asking, receiving. And I went as willing and teachable as I could at that point. But throughout the process to come back to reality it was way more than my expectations. You would ask me, was it? And I said, it exceeded my expectations. Yeah. And that was awesome. So while we were there, the facilitator started playing this song, and the lovely blonde next to me, I could see, was starting to get teary-eyed. And I'm like, oh, I don't do well with emotions. I mean, I do okay. I do better with emotions now. But I got scars. I got stories. Can't believe that I lived to tell. It ain't hard to see. That ain't the man I want to be. But I try to love everyone God puts in front of me. And that's a life worth living. I want to spend my days because the time we're given so quickly slips away. When I fly up to the sky and I hear my maker say, son, you're forgiven. That's a life worth living. And just the song is a life worth living. Yeah. And at that point in time, though, and I can cut this out if you so choose, but at that point in time, it hit you like a ton of bricks because you said, I've just been surviving. I haven't been living.
Yeah.
So your God got jokes.
Bad ones.
Because like you never would have. So that song was playing with a montage of different photos, and some people connected to this. And because of that song, in my point of view, you ended up sharing later that night.
Oh yeah.
And you shared about your grief. And you were not as healed as you are today. And you got to connect.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right? You got to connect. Quite a few women, at least 2, if not more,
Yep.
said thank you. And there was one woman who her spouse had died many years.
Yeah.
And she said, I wasn't going to come on this retreat. And she did. And there was a connection. So I'm forgiven, and pick him up when he falls down. Make sure he knows this old man will always be around. Like, I want to spend my days because the time's slipping, right? Like, this is a life worth living. Purpose, right? This life is worth living with purpose.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah.
And you found it, right?
I'm still finding it.
You're still finding it. It may not be the purpose you thought.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But through your pain, you have found purpose. And this little pet project of mine, right? Like, I have purpose outside of this here. Would I love everyone to, like, love every episode and love all these things? That's not the goal.
No.
The goal is for us outside of our group, right? The people that you interact with, that maybe some algorithm, YouTube, whatever, this will find its way to someone who's searching, how do I not pick up a drink or a drug because my spouse just XYZ, right? That's the purpose of this, I too, right? I have sponsees. My purpose isn't about me feeding my ego on a daily now. My purpose is to help someone else. And, we don't know what that looks like. But through prayer and meditation, I ask, let me be service to someone else. And to be able to quiet my mind, because this thing's going all the time, I can hear it.
Right.
I can hear it.
Right.
I just want to thank you so much. And I hope it healed you a little bit. Yeah. Because like you said, that was part of your thing, is like, no, I need to do this.
I do. I need to do this, and I need people to know that it's okay to not fit into the grieving timeline you think it should look like, and all these things, and to know that there is a way, right, to make it more manageable, because that's all it is. It's more manageable today.
Yep.
I'm able to function. My brain has cleared, but and I'm able to find a life, and like, it's a different life than I thought it was going to look like, but it's still worth living.
Yes,
real. It's still
a life worth living. Yep. Thank you. You can just press the.
We did it.